good morning, or depending when you're watching this, good afternoon, good evening, or good night. My name's Ross, and as always told, out of Voice Radio. So today, we're going to be having a little bit of a gander at a brand new item card that we have never seen before. It's Judge Whistle. And what I love about this, it is literally the whistle that the judge uses on the judge card. And I know that's a little childish, and I know I shouldn't be so delighted by this, but ladies and gentlemen, I absolutely am. Now, our translation here comes from the lovely David Hochmann over at limitlesstcg.com/translations, one of the very best Pokemon websites on the internet, and oh yeah, they don't use adverts, and it isn't paywalled. That's how great they are. And this is a brand new unique item, and you have two choices when you play it. Choice number 1, draw a card. Choice number 2, put a judge from your discard pile into your hand. Both of these could be quite good. Now, in terms of just drawing one card, that doesn't sound great. But actually, a little while ago, we had a stadium card called Battle City. And what you did was once during your turn, you could flip a coin, and if heads, you drew a card. That was actually quite nice. Not stunning, but it saw a fair bit of play. And let's not forget that we've been using Lost Blender lately. And Lost Blender, you have to put 2 cards in the Lost Zone and then you get to draw a card. And that's seen play in a few decks. Some Japanese Grand Ball lists, for instance, have been playing this. And let's face it, we've got Makago nowadays. And Makago is a great card, kind of. Now, the ability lets you put any card from your deck on top of your deck, and that's wonderful and brilliant and amazing and wonderful and awesome and brilliant and great. But also, it only puts it on top of your deck, which means that you need to do something else. You need to draw that card. And if you're unable to draw that card, things get pretty awkward pretty gosh darn quickly. You still get the card, you just don't get it till next turn. Now, of course, the argument here is, well, hang on a second, just chill, because what are the chances that you're actually going to be able to find Judge Whistle in your hand on the exact same turn as you have Makago and need it? And the answer is you won't always do it. But that's okay. Because sometimes you will, ladies and gentlemen. Sometimes you will. And that's pretty gosh darn awesome. I cannot sit here and tell you that this is a stunning card that people are going to play. I can tell you that Bill was double this. Bill, back in the base set, just let you draw 2 cards. And Bill was phenomenal. And drawing cards is good. And I am convinced that there are going to be some speed decks out there that are actually going to play this because drawing a card is pretty gosh darn good. I mean, look, Victory Medal used to be played in some speed decks. And Victory Medal, flip 2 coins. If one's head, draw a card. If both are heads, search your deck for any one card. Now, clearly, Victory Medal had the added bonus of there will be games where you can actually search for any one card, which is phenomenal. But most of the time you drew a card. And yet that saw play. So look, this is decent for drawing a card. But the main effect, the better effect, the headline effect, you get to grab a judge from your discard pile and put it into your hand. And look, we got Pal Pad, right? So if you really want to recover your judges that badly, use Pal Pad. Here's the thing. Pal Pad shuffles them into your deck, and it shuffles 2 into your deck, but it shuffles them into your deck, you've then got to draw them, which you're not always going to be able to do, whereas Judge Whistle, you play Judge Whistle, and you're off, and you've got the judge right now. Similarly, we've got Lucamine, which allows you to grab a supporter card, 2 in fact, or stadium, from your 2 supporters or stadiums or a combination thereof, from your discard pile and put them into your hand, but Lucamine's a supporter. So you can't then actually use the supporter you just got the next turn, because Lucamine was your supporter for the turn, and boo, hiss, etc. Judge Whistle, you get it back, you use it right away. The bigger thing here is, how often are you going to want to use Judge? And the answer is it depends what deck you're playing. You see, there's plenty of times at the moment where we want to drop a judge. If we're using a lot of Pokemon draw, things like Macargo, Oranguru, Zebstrika, etc., it's really nice to drop a judge, lower your opponent's hand size, laugh in their face politely, or if they're your friend, as mean as you like, because they're your friend and they'll forgive you. And then you're essentially slowing them down, but you're not so worried because you've got your Pokemon draw to get out of it. Or sometimes your opponent's playing an unknown hand deck. They win if they can get 35 cards in hand, so you wait till they're close and you drop a judge. Especially if they're playing the Verizon list, whereby you use a GX attack to pick up all of your Pokemon, and then next turn you win the game, giving your opponent one turn to drop a judge. In games like that, judge is amazing. But sometimes there are actual cards which really rely on and revolve around things like judge. And they're usually Yanmegas. So you've got Yanmega Prime from a little while ago, which if you had the same number of cards in hand as your opponent, all of your attacks were free. Judge was phenomenal here. Or indeed the Yanmega from Steam Siege, still legal in Expanded, rotated out to Standard. It was also a pre-release promo. I've gone for that artwork because I think it's beautiful. And what we have is a card whereby if you've got exactly 4 cards in hand, the attacks are free. And again, Judge is phenomenal with that. And this card was central to the deck with which the lovely Jesper Eriksson did actually win the World Championships in the senior division. So, yeah, Mega decks love Judge. You can only play 4 Judges. In those decks, this is great. And there is actually one Pokemon at the moment that really relies on this. Can anybody name it for me without cheating? It's Shiftry GX. Extra sensory for a grass double colorless, 90 damage, but 180 if you've got the same number of cards in hand as your opponent. So there's a one-hit KO on Blacephalon and things of that nature, while you can add a choice band and get a one-hit KO on something like a Zoroark. Now, in Japan, you've got Forest of Giant Plants, so you can still use this. And also in the expanded format, you've got the other Shiftry, which gives you a little bit of a draw engine, and that's really nice. It's the one from Flashfire, which says you can discard a grass energy from your hand and draw 3 cards. Shiftry's never really seen its way into the limelight, and I don't think Judge Whistle is going to be the thing that pushes us over the edge here. Although, as a side note, Stage 2 decks nowadays really need to use Alolan Ninetales in order to get set up. Alolan Ninetales searches for 2 item cards. Judge Whistle is an item card, so actually Alolan Ninetales would work rather nicely with this. But even if Shiftry isn't great, we get cards like this sometimes. We've had the 2 Yanmegas, we've had Shiftry, we'll probably get more in the future. So even if you're not looking at Judge and Judge Whistle right now and going, well, that's going to break Shiftry, which it probably isn't, to be fair, what you can do is you can look at this and go, if we get a card like this in the future, and all of our experience dictates that we're definitely going to, all of a sudden this starts to look an awful lot more viable. And the other thing to mention is this is an item card. So something like Alolan Ninetales, which can search for an item, can get this where they wouldn't be able to get a Judge before. At its most basic, this lets you use extra Judges, which as we've seen in some decks is good. But even if you're not using an extra Judge, you can draw a card, and I am convinced there will be speed decks that play this just to draw an extra card, just to cycle through your deck that little bit faster. Even with the 2 different effects, both of which have uses in vastly different decks, although either of which are a bonus if you want the other effect, still nice to have, I still don't think this is going to see a huge amount of play. I think in some decks that really want to rely on Judge, it's great. Or in decks where you want to match your opponent's hand size or have exactly 4 cards in hand, it's great. In other decks, I can see it being played, but I do think it's niche uses. It's still a free WotC card. I still think it will see some play, and I still think people will use it. I just don't think it is this be-all and end-all amazing card. I'd like to be wrong, though. And ladies and gentlemen, the comment section is where you can politely tell me that I'm wrong. All right. Or just say hello. Or ask me questions. Go nuts, but please do remember the rule, ladies and gentlemen. Be nice. And then make sure you like this video, subscribe to this channel, follow me on Twitter at The Wassy, and Twitch for some live action at twitch.tv/PTCGRadio. If you want to support the channel, get some bonus podcasts and all of that, head on over to patreon.com/PTCGRadio, where you can do exactly that. And do make sure you're checking out youtube.com/WassyPlays for some more Wassy action. But by far the most important thing, as always, is to look after yourselves. Until next time, thank you very much for watching. My name's Ross, and you've been watching PTCG Radio.